action. Appropriate action will be taken. We can assure you no stone will be left unturned. Yeah. We shall investigate this conclusively and make sure that our signal is back on Radio Garden. Well, someone's saying they had an issue. It's those ones. Yeah, it's those ones. Our next conversation is going to be about education and the education sector. Our guests are coming in. They're going to sit down shortly, and then we will introduce them. But as they sit down, let's remind you that this is the second day of 3 days of national mourning that were announced by President William Ruto. This is just paint the picture here. You're a parent. You take your child to school, and then you hear that there's a fire in that school. You, of course, do the thing that parents will want to do. You rush to the school. You get there. You see some parents with their children. You don't see your child. You ask questions, and none are forthcoming. You're told that there are some children who have burned to death in that fire. They are beyond recognition. That now their bodies have been taken to a mortuary, and the next thing that will happen is they'll have to be identified through DNA. This is your own child who has to be identified via DNA. So you're being told, can you give us your DNA sample so that we can identify whether one of these 19 charred remains that we have here is of your child. Now, can you imagine the agony that these parents are going through? And that's why it's important for us to talk about what exactly is this that's happening, not just there. When you hear that it's going to take a month to identify the bodies, we say, is that good enough? When you have all those questions that are, being asked, so what exactly happened? What led to this? This is not the first incident of fire in schools where children have died.
No.
How many more? And what is the cause of all this? And that's why we've invited our two guests. Beatrice Elachi is the Member of Parliament for the Dagoretti North constituency, and Dr. Maina Wagaidoro is the Secretary General of the Parents Association in Kiambu County. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's obviously these 3 days, it's national mourning, but the mourning will continue for very many days, for very many people. And as happens in this country, we will forget. And the most, the saddest bit of it is that those who should not forget are the ones who are going to forget quickest. And that's why you're here, so we can discuss it. I just want to give you each a moment to, pass on your condolences to the school community, the parents, and everyone else. Starting with you, Mheshimiwa Beatrice.
Thank you, and good morning. Yes, as I say, it was a dark Friday, that very heartbreaking, that, as you say, we will forget. But I just want to give my condolences. And I always say, we just give it by mouth, my dear parents, because we have no idea what you're going through. It's only God who knows what you're going through. It is sometimes very difficult to imagine as a parent today of Hillside. Questions, many, yes, but also with no answers. And so I would say the psychological, the emotional is not as good as we would think as a country. We put 3 days of mourning, but then we will finish, but they will mourn forever. Because I saw the other day how we mourned our Moi girls. And when this girl came on social media graduating, it awakened another spirit. I looked at that social media, the parents who lost their children. It was not very good.
Yeah.
So it means that nobody ever forgets.
Yeah.
But it can be a testimony for us that can we try our best now as a country, that these children must be the last for us to ever talk about safety of children, and not just on fire, because there are many other things that happen that needs safety. and be the last in schools. That we
Indeed.
can lose young babies, children. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Dr. Maina.
On Friday, we are wakened up by cries of some of our parents who had taken their children to school, but now they had been awakened by a call that nobody could have wanted to hear in the position of being a parent. As a parent association, we are so saddened because we are parent. We have no words, and I know now the words we may talk may not make sense to anybody who have lost a child. There are times that words cannot comfort. And when we lack words of comfortable words to somebody who have got this kind of loss, we'd only like to imagine that our government and mostly the Minister of Education, they'll take it seriously, very seriously, than they have ever taken it before. Personally, we don't want to blame anybody. We would like to give the government time to inspect and do what is supposed to be done, but we know and we think if somebody ever slept in their job, they should now be taken in for questioning and asked why this might have happened. As Mheshimiwa has said, I think, could this be the last? We are wishing it could be. Because in Kenya, things keep on recurring. Matters have recurred from Shaguri, Boboluru, and our tears are on and on. Parent, try to accept that this has happened. Those are the most comforting words that I will give you from the Parent Association, because I know it is very difficult to accept. But this is the only option that we are left with.
That's true. Now, Siti is going to give us the day's proverb. Every week he goes to one African country and then gives us proverbs from that country. He has decided in the last couple of weeks that he's going to look at countries that border oceans.
Yes.
In the continent of Africa. That is the Indian Ocean.
And the
Atlantic.
Atlantic, yes.
Okay.
Somebody may
Because the Mediterranean is not an ocean.
Well, no, but the oceans feed into it. It's like the Gulf of Eden. Someone will tell you that it's the Mediterranean, but it is part of the Atlantic. You may not like, or the Gulf of Eden, it is part of the Indian Ocean.
The Red Sea is not an ocean.
It will remain red.
Tuachie hapo. So in which country are we this week?
We are in the Federal Republic of Somalia.
Okay.
A country with an extremely rich history, okay, and a country which has had a very tumultuous past, rising from the ashes of colonialism, where there are two colonial masters, the Italians, the British, or let me get in order, the British, the Italians, and then when they got their independence, a lot happened, and it wasn't for the good. It's only now that the country is actually beginning to recover. Okay. The mouth doesn't, if a mouth, let me start again. Here I am mixing myself up. It's one of those mornings. You know, when you talk of tragedy, your mind tends to travel very many distances and thinks very many things.
Yep.
A mouth that doesn't belong to you cannot be shut up.
A mouth that does not belong to you cannot be shut up. Now, the job that you have, Dr. Maina, is to give us your own interpretation of that proverb. But because you're a guest and Beatrice has been here before, we're going to start with her. What's the interpretation of this one?
No, her reaction, she thought, well, since Mheshimiwa has been here with us, we're going to give her pass.
Oh, God. So the mouth that does not what?
A mouth that doesn't belong to you
It doesn't belong to me.
cannot be shut up.
Cannot be shut up.
Yes.
So are you are you telling me that because let me think.
Think through. Maybe Dr. Kaithuru has...
Because what I was about to say might be a mouth that will shut me up.
I think,
Okay.
To rephrase.
Okay.
I think I may guess, because I think in guessing everybody is light, and I think a mouth that doesn't belong to me I may not be able to control it. And if we are talking in the perspective of mourning, then of course that is you cannot shut a mouth that is full of sorrow. You cannot shut a mouth that cannot contemplate what has happened. And I think, in my own take, is that now our parents who are crying, who their mouths are wide open, they are perturbed. They can no longer comprehend that there's a government, there's a management in a school that is taking care of their children. They cannot be shut up, because I think, in my own thinking, is this that it's too much to comprehend. It's too much sorrow to bear. So I think we unless we devise some methodologies on how any wording that we speak today cannot make sense.
That's a good one.
So, my thinking is that in the many things we agonize on as Kenyans, we ask ourselves, we have a good constitution, a progressive one. I don't know, we have this law and this law and this law. Then we enter into an animal called the government, which is not the president, it's a government. So people will come and say, the government is the president, the government is the army, the government is this. But we are unable completely to shut and realize which one can guide us properly to where we want to go. And maybe that is why we are antagonized so much, that while we will want to see good things in Kenya, this mouth, we are unable to get it properly and see how to deal with it. That's how I look at it.
There are too many mouths.
Too many.
And instead of talking the right words, they're eating.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about our education sector. And, we said that this topic is going to be about looking at our education sector and whether it's in shambles or not. Ndu, this is your pet topic. Give us the introduction and the lay down for it.
Well, let's look at this from a point of view of what the calls have been over the last couple of days. In my opinion, a little bit too late. It's not necessary that a tragedy has to occur or that things seem to be going down the rabbit hole before now somebody says, let's do something about it. If we look at one of the stories that's in the dailies today, the Education Ministry has been directed by the courts to establish standards and quality, to establish a Standards and Quality Council in the next 2 months. So if there has been a call for that, then means obviously that the standards and quality are below par. They are not where they need to be in this country. Whether we talk about it from the very basic level until the top, or if you want to go from the top and come down to the bottom, at every level something is wanting. Now, if we look at quality and standards, just 5 short years ago, we had a tragedy, just like this one, where young children in a constituency that neighbors yours, children died. A school collapsed in broad daylight. And we were waiting to hear, all right, what is the state of schools around the country? We still are yet to know what the true picture is. We've had schools burned down. We've had children die. We have had, today, unanswered questions. This is happening alongside capitation not going to schools in the manner in which it's supposed to go. We have a funding model which doesn't work at the higher level of education. We have no quality assurance in schools, for which gets the lion's share of the national budget every year. 640 billion shillings this financial year is what has been allocated to education. And unfortunately, we cannot see what equals 640 billion, unfortunately. And so everything that happens adds on to an already terrible situation. And the question must be, why is there such a dismal performance when it applies to the very pillars of the foundation of this society, which is the education of children? It's not good. And that's being very polite. What is happening and what needs to be done to start to pick away at this problem? Some of the things that we talked about. You, Mweshimiwa, said a couple of days ago that children in primary school should not board. They should be next to their families, and they should be next to their parents or their guardians. These are all so many issues which are so layered. There is too much going wrong in the education sector for no attention to be paid to it. Where do we begin?
Okay. I begin this way. That one, before I even say anything, I think we have to go back to ourselves and ask, do we have a human heart? First of all, for our children, all of us as parents, because it's a question that will hover all of us, will have to reflect in us. Because one thing we have to understand, children need love. That's all they need when they are children. They need just love. And so when you look at now what we are going through, and I know parents will say, we have challenges, I have work. True, we have work, we have all this. And I think the most important thing that everyone must ask, he or she, especially when we have children in boarding schools who are, let's say, for example, primary school, which I have too, St. George's and Nairobi Primary. But I'll tell you, every day we walk in the school and it's different than, I don't want to equate other boarding schools, but I'll tell you, it's more like home when you enter those schools. So if we want really to put our young babies in boarding, let's make the school then a home, not just a school, a home, because this child moves on. And you imagine right now how our children are very young in school. You find that a child is 8 years, is already in grade 4 or 3, and you're 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8-year-olds.
That's how they are, very young. You don't know how to even do your panties, your vests. You have no idea even how to wash. Now, I have put you into a Kenyan school, which is okay. But this Kenyan school has no capacity to bring you now the right caregiver who will be in this school for these children who are from the age, let me say, age 10 coming down. They won't have. They will be taught exactly the way age 13, who is a teen, who is trying to think of his life, and who is also going to have challenges, because that is the time. There are 3 key things that age is also dying for. 1, to identify himself or herself. 2, to ensure he starts understanding these relationships, okay? 3, and he's coupling with all these things, and he wants to know, and he's there. That's the time you'll hear them telling you, I need my room. So you have to explain, because maybe you won't have a room. But you'll sit down and say, yes, I understand, which is good. Because you realize he's starting to identify, or she's identifying herself, that I am now growing. I need my room, I need this, and they will always have. Boys become conservative. So if you're in a boarding school, you tell me how you have somebody now to care for you at that age. And I think that is why I felt with CBC, being domiciled so much in primary school up to year 9, why can't we just have them in day schools, so that as they go to high school in year 10, it will be better for them. But then the other thing we must agree and say all of us leaders have failed is quality assurance. Because when we had the first fire, those days of Bombolulu, those days, what quality assurance did we put in? The standards. Do schools follow standards that they have been given? And is there someone who follows through to check every school? Let's say when the year starts, you come in and check. You have now admitted more than you had last year. So let's say, for example, Kenya High, when they were admitting Form 1s, we have 900. You tell me.
900 Form 1s.
Form 1s. And you tell St. George's, 610. It means everything expanded beyond what Mwalimu can accommodate. So have we ensured, has the ministry ensured at that time We have standards for the school. We have, that time you'll find your dorm the way Hillside now is. That dorm will be absolutely with more than kids you were expecting. Because there's no infrastructure we added when they were coming in. So that's where the challenge now starts.
I think it's interesting that you say that, and I think we just need to clarify something, because I've seen a comment here on social media, and I need to make it very clear that when we talk about standards and we talk about quality, that there is no council for standards and quality in Kenya today. Has not been established. Justice Lawrence Mugambi yesterday said the ministry should appoint officers to the council as required by Section 64 of the Basic Education Act.
Yeah.
He said failure by the ministry to establish the council was an affront to the rule of law and principles of governance. They've been given 60 days to set up the Education Standards and Quality Assurance Council, which is ESCAC, within 2 months. It does not exist.
It just brings us to what happens in this country. We are very, very, very good at thinking, designing, but never good at, following through and implementing. So, in the very brilliant thinking of the drafters of that law, they said, we need standards, and then the standards, we're going to have it premised in a council that is sort of semi-autonomous and independent, that brings in various actors who will be overseeing the standards and quality assurance in our schools, not established. Those are questions that
the department exists.
Yes, it does.
That's the thing. I want to come to you, Dr. Maina. As parents, you are critical stakeholders in a school, okay? So, this man used to be chair of a board of management of a school. Have they approached you again?
Been a head teacher.
Have they approached you again So this man has served as a head teacher, head of the school,
head teacher,
and chair of the board
of management, yes.
And you have then of course looked at, and you're a parent,
yes,
and you're therefore a member of the parents association,
yes.
Okay, Dr. Maina, as parents, do parents have a say in how a school is run, managed, governed?
A parent has a controlled say. Let me start from there. Controlled say because they are the financier. They give the finances to the administration, and it's good that one person in this studio had been a manager. He will clarify where I'll be wanting. And parents, when they give money, they have no control of that money whatsoever. The parent association has a PA chairperson in every school.
Yeah.
And you find, and I was actually speaking much more outside here, we have a Basic Education Act that was enacted in 2013, and therefore the PA is recognized by our government. But what happens in the say of the parliament, in the say of the parent, when I say it is controlled, is because when you give your finances, you just give it for it to be managed by the managers. We have the parent association and we have the BOM. But basically, where the say of the parent is very wanting is because, like, when you take your child in a dormitory, or when you are being admitted in could be, for example, I use a nearby school, St. George's, or could be State House Girls. You never be shown the dormitories, and that's why I'm saying we are controlled in a way that, or we are managed, because no parent will tell you my girl or my boy is staying in this dormitory and the parameters have been checked. So the quality assurance is in shambles. I can say that.
So what does the law say? When the law recognizes that there's going to be a parents association,
yes,
in every school,
yes,
what duties and responsibilities does the law give to the parents association?
In the basic education, in the third schedule, 6, very specifically, A to F, speaks about the role of the parent, that they shall provide for nutritional value to their children. They shall give the momentaries, that they shall pay for the school fees. They shall also monitor the development in the school. It is now the monitoring where we have a very big gap, because the monitoring will be done by the principal, will be done by the teacher, there are some things that will be wanting, they don't want them to be monitored. So I think there is where we lose our mark. And the basic education is very eloquent and it is very clear on the role of the parent. However, it is the management of that role that sometimes is micromanaged by the administration of the schools. And this makes now the parent, and I'm happy that we have a principal on site, so you'll be able to stamp that, that they micromanage, because there are things that very serious matters that they want to hide, especially on matters finance. You find that a dormitory that was supposed to be made in this statute, it was supposed to have even to be very friendly to the disabled, to be friendly to every child, because every child has a right. You find that it has not been, everything has not been executed. Our quality assurance are compromised by the Murio wa Shiringi. You know, when they see the sharing, that of course we are the financier, and it is misappropriated even to compromise our education quality assurance officers, because if they had not been compromised, what happened in Russia could not have happened. What happened in Moi Girls could not have happened, because the space could have been kept, because there's how it is stipulated in the dormitories. You are supposed to live like this. So I think if our law, we are left and given the freedom to man the schools as the act stipulates. Because the act is very clear that we shall have 6 parents elected in an AGM to be members of the BOM, and then we have 3 members also from the PA who are also co-opted during the enactment of our board. Then if that was put in place and then they are allowed to have the freedom, then education could have been then the parent freedom, and then their law could be been executed without any compromise.
Let's take a break. We'll continue this conversation shortly at 26 minutes to 9. We are talking about our education sector. Is it in shambles? And as Ndu has just, given us that background, look, we have had all these tragedies in schools over many years. And every time there's always a promise that this will never happen again. Fires happen. Children die in, accidents on the road. Buildings collapse in schools. And still, we continue seeing them happening. The issue of quality assurance doesn't happen. The issue of how much money is going into our education sector. On paper, this is the one thing that gets the biggest chunk of our budget. And then in practice, it is where also people are eating in the name of ghost teachers, ghost schools, ghost students, and we end up with facilities that are not able even to accommodate our children. What's happening to our education sector? Beatrice Elachi, MP, Dagoretti North, and Dr. Maina Wakaiduru, Secretary General, Parents Association, Kiambu County.
This is the